Welcome, everybody, to our True Self Talk right after our energy self-healing session. My name is Jona Bryndis, and with me I have Abby, who was the co-facilitator in the session, along with Cindy and Becky. Those are trained energy healers that help me read out the field and your guys' individual energies. And we are connected via Skype during the session, just on a technical note, and go through these energies that are coming up while you guys are connecting with yourself. So the purpose of these True Self sessions is not that we give you a reading or something like that. The purpose is for you to have a safe space, a room that is active once a month for over 10 years now, to freely and safely connect with your own deeper self, if you will. And there's always guidance that comes up, and we want to share here with you by just sort of talking a little bit about what we saw, what we noticed. There were roughly 100 people in the session, so some of the things will apply to you directly and some won't. And we are looking forward to having a conversation with you about this. So what came forward for you? This is the reason why we do this right after. It's like waking up from a dream, right? I mean, how often do we actually take the time to talk about our dreams right after? If we don't, the information doesn't get lost, but it is not fully aware to us. And yes, I don't know if you have the same experience, but it seems to come back here and there if we don't work with our dreams. But if we talk about it right after, if we share, if we write, if we, just allow ourselves to process what we experienced, saw, heard, felt during 55 minutes of deeper inner connection, you'd be surprised how much guidance there is. So I want to ask Abby. Abby, can you say hi here for everybody who was with me in the session? If of what
Hi.
you... Hey,
Hi.
Abby.
Hi everyone.
Just like, to give everybody a feel, Abby, you came to these True Self sessions, I'm going to say, for many years.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Before
It's
you
how
even...
I kind of I put my toe in the water through True Self for years before I considered doing any more work or different work.
Yeah, such as like individual sessions or courses, or even the healer training. So here you are now. Right? And helping out, volunteering to hold the field and to assist other people in this deeper inner connection process. So from your perspective, Abby, just because people get tired, I suppose, of hearing my voice, from your perspective, how did you experience this particular session?
Well, my initial feeling was that it felt very quiet. Like there wasn't much to kind of like hold on to. Like sometimes when we start these sessions, like things come in quite quickly, like kind of like different feelings or emotions or like a memory or something like that. But there wasn't a lot
body sensations.
body sensation, but there wasn't a lot to go on to start off with. It felt in a way kind of quite quiet, like we were kind of waiting for something almost. And so but that also kind of like felt like that for many of us in the session, it felt like it was okay, that there was a steadiness, there was like actually like a feeling of a grounding and a wanting to stay present, like stay in that kind of stillness or quietness.
I like the word stillness. There was something about that. In times like this, stillness is something rare, really, because we get so bombarded with lots of things from the outside where most of the time we don't even have time to process just the 3D stuff that comes in, right? But there were some significant shifts in the session. And how did it end up? How did we leave the session?
Well, for myself, like very motivated, like really focused on what needs to be done, action, and like I think for many of us, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, because of the time of year, that kind of connection to the energy of the time of year and kind of like life force and you know, wanting to take responsibility for different things, whatever it is, you know, just kind of getting out there and doing something.
When you said waiting, this was a good, I want to say 20 minutes or something, where it felt a little passive. I call it passive.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is obviously something as an energy healer that I do every day. I started to push the energy a little bit more because it wasn't really present enough. We weren't really present enough. There was still, you know, there was a lot going on for some of you, but it was too just sort of sitting there and waiting for like somebody to tell you what to do, right? And that links right into what you just said, these action steps. So this was, from my perspective, the big learning here, the big guidance. The big guidance was not to sit there and wait, not to sit there and perhaps even externalize our power, give our power away to something or somebody to fix something or to change something. And especially in regards to the future, I felt a lot of need. This is not proper English, but a strong need to know what is coming in the future. And many of you felt like you knew, or you are knowing, that there is something like a new dawn, a new beginning, a new, I mean, many of you were kind of engaging in something that we've identified as inventory. Yeah, like looking into like, okay, what am I doing? What am I afraid of? And the predominant emotion that came forward was something like an anxiousness about what is coming. There's a lot of you who feel like you don't know what's coming, but you feel an impulse at the same time. And from an energetic point of view, this all took place in mostly our fifth chakra, which is the throat chakra, which has to do with our expression, also our congruence, namely in the sense of truthful being, truthful expressing, truthful speaking. And the sixth chakra, which is the third eye chakra, this is the energetic organ in you that has the ability to see clearly, to see truth, to discern truth. None of that is mystical. All this is very, very practical, and especially as we felt this in this session, the combination with your root chakra, with your first chakra. Abby commented on the grounding effect. Yeah, this is always your stance in life, where you feel safe, where you feel like you belong. And Abigail, you mentioned something during the session around like I'd say like 40 minutes in or something, that you feel a very strong connection. Well, you're probably better in wording this than I am.
It came through very strongly for me in the session. It felt very personal, but I just had this like very, very, I've seen it coming through for the last couple of days actually, and today my experience of being out and about in where I live, it was also kind of mirrored. But this very, very strong feeling of being close to my countrymen and women, and to the land, like to the people, and like feeling this very intense connection to them, and but that feeling very, very positive, like feeling like really like reciprocal and like very, very beautiful. It kind of felt like a promise, you know, kind of
It feels safe.
Yeah,
it feels
very safe.
safe.
Belonging, like very strong sense of belonging, like having this, like, because we're in the same land, that having this something shared, and it felt very beautiful. Like I loved it, and I felt like they were loving me and supporting me. Like I was looking at them, and I was supporting them somehow, but I also felt that coming back to me, that love and support.
This is something that many of us haven't felt in a long time, or perhaps even never before. Ever before.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you and I, we share, the experience of having lived in many different countries. Having been an expat for a good majority of our life, and this coming from you is huge. So the same for me. I want to ask into the round here, who of you has issues with that, or perhaps a renewed sense of belonging? Either way, like that you don't belong to your land, that you don't feel supported by, let's say, your tribe, the one that is in 3D, the people around you, what makes up your support system, your social network. Or who of you is experiencing something like a renewal of that? I would love to hear your voices in regards to this deeper sense of belonging. Who wants to share?
Hey, Jona, it's Cheryl. How are you?
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Jona. So I'll share just simply. So, Abby, when you spoke, I felt very much connected to that. And it's nothing like in particular, but the last couple of weeks, just in my life, I have been very grateful for just like all the support that has come through in just different ways. It seems like, honestly, like I have a need or a want, and somebody shows up, and it's not something that I've experienced for a good portion of my life. I've certainly learned to be self-sufficient, so that I got down really well. But now, I mean, honestly, it's just, simple things. It's not something, that I could be specific, but it's just very simple things. But just to know that the support is there, and just how grateful.
Did you do anything differently?
To be honest with you, I think I learned to accept. I've been working on this for a while, so I'm really great at, like most of us, it seems as if most of us are more comfortable giving, but I'm not so great at the receiving part. So I've been working, consciously looking at myself in that regard and learning to receive. And I think maybe that's what opened up the avenue. So yeah, like that, I'm worthy too, so perhaps, I don't know, it's not like a science, but I have definitely been working on that in my life. But honestly, like something as simple as, so I live in a beautiful house, but, I needed my yard mulched, and I usually do it myself. It takes a lot of work, and a lot of times I said, wow, I just wish somebody'd show up. And literally 2 days later, somebody showed up. With extra mulch to do it. I know that sounds like a fairy tale, but that really happened.
I need my house to be mulched too.
Yeah, and I wanted a grill for 2 years, and a friend of mine is cleaning out his parents' home because his mom is now in a senior home, and he's like, Cheryl, I got this brand new grill. Do you want it? And I'm like, really? And I'm like, okay, sure. How much? No, I'm just going to give it away, so it's yours. Really? Okay. Things,
This is beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for these examples, Cheryl.
Thank you.
They are great examples because they are so simple. Yeah. And they have to do with support, and they have to do with feeling that there is some kind of interaction, that when you do something, or when you switch, when you change something in your own attitude, that something responds. The question is, how conscious are we about what it is that we're putting out there? Cheryl, you mentioned something here that we all, as energetically sensitives, and perhaps those who are more on the empathic side of things here, this is just the audience that I attract. that we're all more comfortable with giving. And then you mentioned self-worth, that you found out through accepting or receiving, allowing yourself the willingness to receive, that you actually received something without perhaps maybe feeling guilty, or that you owe something. I mean, we all receive little things here and there, but we don't often value it in the same way that perhaps we value, us giving to others. And that's something that's linked to self-worth. So you nailed it. Thank you, Cheryl. Those examples are very, very good. So this is the kind of stuff that can make us feel safe, that can make us feel belong, right? Any other examples, any other experiences, deeper experiences maybe?
Hey, Jona, this
Hi.
is Emer. Hi.
Hi,
Sorry,
Emer.
is somebody else? How's it going? I
No,
somehow couldn't connect to the first hour, but it's nice to be on here. And while Cheryl was talking, I have this on, my phone, and it fell to the ground. I think it's a representation of how hard I'm finding it to sort of accept all this love and stuff. She was just, when she was talking about somebody came along, and it's like my nervous system just threw the phone out of my hand or something. Now it just fell, but I feel like so much has happened in the last couple of years for me. Again, a lot of work done, but I feel like I'm attracting. It's like my life has come full circle from childhood when I was really happy and, around, I think, what I was meant to be around. And I don't know what happened then for like 20 years. And I'm coming back around now especially in the last year, but sometimes I am, conscious of the self-sabotaging elements, but at least I'm conscious of it. Does that make sense?
It does. The question is, Emer, and I mean, this is why I read your guys' individual energies. In your case, in particular, the question is the self-sabotage that you mentioned. Are you aware of what is holding you back? Are you aware of what is doing that? Because I mean,
there's massive fear. I'm not sure what the fear is. It's fear of, it's love? Is it, I don't know. It's fear of, what's the word? I can't even think. I'm getting a blank on the word. Being rejected, yes.
Yeah, being rejected.
Yeah.
And ultimately being alone, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately being alone. And this is the weirdest thing, and I know that you're not alone with this. I know that many of us here, or that you're the only one here, many of us can relate to this. It has to do with us, not really understanding that we're actually connected. Yeah, it is that we see ourselves. I mentioned the shift or switch in attitude, right? And this attitude, similar to what Cheryl has shared here a few minutes ago, is how we relate. Okay, so if we see ourselves as alone, we will have, and this is the weirdest thing, but this is part of our human condition, have more fear of being alone. If we see ourselves connected, we have less fear to be alone. And you may say, yeah, this is where the dog chases its tail, right? In your case, most of this fear, fear of rejection, we all have that, but most of this fear, like the reason why it has such a strong impact on that, it comes through your mind, through your critical inner voice. Yeah. And it's guys, remember that the critical inner voice is not, those are not necessarily thoughts that you are consciously thinking. 80% at least of your critical inner voice are recordings, like tape recordings of the past, and they reach back all the way to your childhood. So many of these tape recordings that are playing in the background are things that we've heard like 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Yeah, and most of these weren't even said to us. They were said about other people, perhaps. Something that we that comes into us like a conditioning, like sort of how things are supposed to be. And this how things are supposed to be creates what we call in psychological terms and also in energetic terms, projections. It creates something that we believe we have to live up to, say. We have to be in a certain way. So these are basically the steps. Yeah. So first we have the recording, and it's there, and it's in our unconscious. It keeps playing now. And the longer we wait with actually expressing ourselves, how we perceive ourselves as true selves, say, yeah, the stronger this overlay becomes, because it's like we're swimming, we're lost somehow in between what other people think, how we think it's, one is supposed to be, and how we think we are supposed to be. And this is the barrier that we all have. This is the reason for these 2 self sessions, that we break through this barrier and get to a place where, regardless of our personal situation, our circumstances and conditions that we have to, contend with, that we get to this place of understanding ourselves as in what we are, who we are, what we need, and what we want. So in a way, this critical inner voice, Emer, and this is something that many here suffer from, if you will, is in direct juxtaposition to our true self voice. And they can sound quite similar. This is where we all get confused. Yeah, if I would have to boil it down over these past 15 years, what is the most asked question? It's, how do I know it's my true self and not my ego? That's the question that most of us have, right? So what is the skill that is needed? The skill that is needed is not more information. The skill that is needed is discernment. How do I know it's true for me? How do I know that this thought that I'm thinking right now is actually coming from me, or just something I heard on the news, or something I heard the neighbors talk, or something my grandmother always used to say? And you're absolutely right. It is the awareness. It is the conscious awareness, the present moment awareness. We have to investigate these thoughts. We have to investigate them. You have to investigate them. You have to ask yourself, wait a minute, who is thinking this? Whether it be the fear of being alone, whether it be the fear of getting rejected, whether it's the fear of not being able to pay your bills, whether it's the fear of having nobody who loves you. I mean, just in general, this is, like the different sort of the realm of all these kind of fears that
they're very powerful, aren't they, though, those critical voices? It's actually quite frightening how powerful they are.
Yes.
But it's also very powerful how you can overturn them.
Yes.
Very quickly.
And the overturning, this is really a big part of the session, this switch. Okay, this conscious switch. And we may not know yet what the right formula is, say, to overturn them, to overwrite them. But I can assure all of you that in the moment where you uncover it and say, I didn't think this. This isn't me saying this. In that moment, you are stepping into your power.
Right.
And as you do that, you are becoming, or you're getting access to your true self thinking. All right. So this is the one aspect of that. Is for you in particular. It's the who thinks. Yeah, because you're acting. You base your acting on your thinking. Okay.
Right.
And if you want to do better acting, better choosing, better translating or manifesting, you need to first make sure that it's actually you who's thinking your thoughts.
Yeah.
And there's obviously elements of mind control and so forth that we all subjected to a certain degree, just due to the fact that we are all kind of linked into social media and or other media, even if it is the books that we're reading and so forth. So whenever you seek outer information that comes through other people, say, whether it's written word or spoken word or movie songs, conversations, doesn't matter. You are a part of you is processing that, and in each of these instances discernment takes place, and that is what we need to become aware of. We need to become aware of what we allow in and what we don't want to allow in, what we take on as ours. So I can read a cool book and agree with the author in many ways. But I have my own insights about this. So in the moment where I read a book, like for example, I'm reading a book about self-deception right now. It's a psychiatrist, okay? It's a very sort of clinical book in a way. Yeah. So I don't agree with everything that the author is saying, but there were some aspects of this, some parts of the book that triggered something in me where I'm like, he's right. This is the order, for example, in this case. This is the order in which this happens for me. Yes, he's right. So the main point of the book, just for your guys' information, because this is something I often talk about, is ego defenses. Why we get into struggle with our own thinking. Why we have all these conflicts. And the way I contextualize this in the Sacred Self-Healing Program is that it's fundamentally, any kind of conflict that we have is based on us not getting something. We're not getting something that we want. So discernment, for the most part, not just for you, this is really for everybody. This is the most vital tool that we need to survive here in the future, is to ask yourself, for one, am I really thinking this? Are those my thoughts? Yeah, is this my rendering of what I am, of the information that is coming in? Yeah, that's the one aspect. And the other aspect is, what does it mean to me? Why do I resist certain information? I get impulses sometimes to, let's say, like something or dislike something, to engage in something or to procrastinate, right? You too, everybody. And what are these impulses? Where were they coming from? Why am I not finishing the bookkeeping for May? This is my thing right now. And I go to bed and I'm like, oh shit, I still need it. Why am I not doing this? Okay, what am I resisting here? Because there are so many other elements, other things that I want to do that I feel if I waste my time on bookkeeping, I'm missing out on other things. But in the end, it catches up with me and gives me some kind of conflict in me. Yeah. So my rendering, my insight, my discernment would be, you know what? This takes up a lot of your energy. I should just do it. I should just step into action and do it. And then I can move on freely. And this is where many of us get stuck. We have impulses that come from our true self. We can feel it. We know it. But we're not following through on them. And it costs an enormous amount of energy to maintain the conflict. We have to use all kinds of justifications, explanations, rationalizations, narratives, why and why not, blah, da, 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 da. Yeah, and right here you can tell when it's your true self or when it's your critical inner voice talking. Your true self may say, hey, it'd be better if you do this now. Okay, just so that you can move on freely. Your critical inner voice will sound more like, one has to do the bookkeeping on time. I mean, I'm just like pulling this out of thin air. It comes more as in form of generalizations. It sounds like it's coming from an outer authority. Your true self speaks to you from an inner authority. It speaks to you in a loving voice. It says, Ima, you know this isn't right for you. You felt it right from the beginning. Why waste your energy on it? And right there, okay, right there, something happens in us if we neglect this. Yeah, this is when we kind of go against ourselves. And we can all feel it, guys. We can all feel it. So how do we break through this? That's the core question here, right? I said through action. Okay, well, sometimes it's not that simple. We all know that. And I don't know, Ima, if you felt something in this session, but there's a point. I have a visual right now. There's a point in this conflict where somebody has to put a foot down and say, enough. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever had that? Where you were so tired of this constant back and forth, or constant looping, or constant, like, oh, but if I don't do this, this whining, or this rationalizing, right? Putting your foot down, yeah, and saying, enough. It's enough. Whatever it is, no more. It's creating resentments in me.
You mentioned, I don't know if this will be helpful to people, but you mentioned, say, the May accounts or May reports. So for the last, it's over a year now, I'm counting it. I have been saying every day, today I'm going to get my house isn't full of clutter, but I like to have a nice, tidy house. My house is not tidy or clean. It's actually at such a point a lot of the time where I'm hoping somebody doesn't come to the door because they couldn't come in. And guess what? They don't come to the door. The minute I have the house the way I want it, loads of people say, hey, I'm passing by, I'll call in. It's unbelievable.
That's a good example. Yeah, it's a good example.
And I mean, even somebody broke into my house when it was really tidy. Nobody's broken in when it's messy.
Oh, that's funny. I love that you can.
I know, right?
That.
It's actually true, though. Yeah, but
because
it's something I feel like I'm Yes, but I am definitely sabotaging by keeping my house in such a way that I'm sort of ashamed of. And it wouldn't take much. It would take like a few hours. It's not like it's not like I'm a hoarder or anything like that at all. Do you know what I mean? But I don't.
Exactly what you mean.
I am definitely blocking this love and community and everything else that I want, and I'm creating, but I want it in my house, and I'm blocking it.
So here, the reason why this is such a great example is because we can all relate to it. The solution is clear, right? How to break through this is very simple. You just said it. Just go ahead and do it. A couple of hours, you're done. Or at least get it started. See, we don't have to like resolve all at once. This is where a lot of us get caught as well. All we need is an action step. And a lot of times, that's really all it takes. Because our energy becomes self-propelled as we get started with something. Yeah, as we made this conscious choice, as we declared, I'm doing this now, it sort of musters all the reserves that we have, and it empowers us. So as we're going, we have a lot more power than we thought we had. We may have told ourselves before, oh no, I'm too tired, oh no. But when you get started, and this is really from a spiritual point of view, things that have to do with us trusting and having this faith that once we get started, we will have the support, we will have the energy, we will have the money, we will have whatever resources are needed to complete the task. But the going against it, and I love this example because it's so practical. If your house is a mess and it bugs you, right?
Yeah.
And it bugs you. I mean, some people are not they're not bothered by it. But if it does bother you,
Yeah.
and it's like every single time you walk from this room to the kitchen, you're bothered every single time. It takes an enormous amount of energy to walk just from one room to the other, because you can't unsee it. You can't unknow it. You know it's there, and you know what to do. And this is the energy that we need to muster, and we call this energy faith. Not in a religious way, in yourself. The faith in yourself that once you get started with it, that you're going to feel so much better, and that you have so much more energy, that all the other problems that kind of, I don't know, they kind of linger around all this, so that it often becomes not a single problem, but like a conglomerate of problems then. You know, it's like, I used to call them shit magnets. So you have one thing that you don't want to see or don't want to do, right? And then, you know, over time, if you let it marinate long enough, it becomes a whole big pile of shit.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to recognize. Something that we all know in our real life, that if you don't clean the dishes, it gets harder the longer the stuff stays on there, right? So that's the energy of the session, guys. The energy of the session was a breakthrough energy, a switch energy that has to do with you not telling yourself, I will do. That won't do it. You have to declare, I am doing this now. There's an immediacy to it. There is a power to it that has relevance here to our global situation. And I'll get to that here in a few moments. But it has to do with you declaring who you are. Emer, I love how you started the conversation. You said, I like it tidy in the house. That is a declaration. That comes, it's something that has to do with how you like it, how you want it. This is what you guys need to focus on. As soon as you begin to declare who you are, what you want, what you need. Cheryl, you said similar things. Yeah, as soon as you said it out loud, what it is that you needed, or what it was that you needed, it appeared. This is not magical, guys. This has to do with interacting with the universe, interacting with others, interacting with other energies. You are not a singularity. You're not. We all interact with other people's, with the planet and the plants and the animals' energies all the time. Yeah. So when I say universe, I don't mean like woo-woo energies out there. I mean everything that surrounds you. And the moment you declare, you're stepping into your power. You're stepping into your self-worth. You're stepping into your true identity. And that then empowers you, that's by faith, yeah, to translate this into action. Thank you so much for sharing. Wonderful example.
Thank you.
It really helps. Thank you, Lena.
Thanks, Jona.
Any more things that came forward for you during the session or in these days, perhaps, that are coming to your awareness? Things where you get stuck. How were these most recent energies here for you in these last 2 weeks?
Jona, this is Abigail again. I was wondering if it was worth kind of talking about, like, one of the very strong sensations that came out during the session was also that feeling of kind of like, well, the word I was using was kind of feeling bereft, kind of feeling like very alone and kind of cut off from things, and then kind of you translated that the word is like loss of connection to our soul and to our higher power, and like kind of giving up the power, and that's something that I've also been feeling over the last few days. Is like just sometimes that feeling comes in very strongly, when I suppose it's like it's kind of like it's just, it feels like a loss and a bereftment, like almost like a bereavement of something that's very important. And I think you used the word like something that's very precious that you can't have anymore, or it's just kind of beyond this. But it's not like a loss of somebody that you love or something like that. It's this kind of deeper inner feeling that's like beyond comprehension.
How do you interpret that? Like, is it does it come forward as like a warning, or as like something that you're afraid of?
Does it come forward as a warning, or maybe it comes forward as well, I think it can be associated with fear, but it also comes as a warning because you can listen to it, and if you listen to it, then you're able to kind of like try to discern what's going on, and then maybe kind of go to that whole issue of kind of like actually taking action, like using it as a way to make change or do something, or kind of like maybe if there's a need to kind of take some level of like self-responsibility about something that's going on in your life. So because you can end up feeling like a victim in that, but we all know that really ultimately we're not victims. Like sometimes we can be in difficult situations, but we can find ways out of that, and we can take responsibility for different things that are going on. I just felt for it because I think that a lot of us might have been feeling a little bit bereft at points during the session, and that's okay too.
Abby, I had to look up the word. I had to transcode the word when you said this, and I made a few comments about this, but you're absolutely right. There are things that are happening in us right now, and especially here in this last week, this whole month really, that guide all of us into a deeper place within. By the way, I just want to make a comment here to Stacy. Stacy, you said I drew a picture. I'm not an artist by any means, but I don't draw ever. It just came out of nowhere. Yes, I mentioned all kinds of things in the beginning, like sensations, things that you hear, things that you feel or see. But it's also sometimes, sort of what just comes out of you in form of creativity or in form of, these can all be these interactions with your unconscious. Okay, allow them all of that needs to be protocoled. All of that needs to be paid attention to for our conscious awareness, and for us really understanding what it is that our true self is trying to communicate to us. Drawings are very, very good for that, because we are it's not about beauty or anything, but they are often coded. There's something in those drawings that we may not be fully aware right away. So yes, by all means, please post it. You can post it in the forum for this session, or send it to me privately, and I can help you to decode this. These are things I always encourage people to doodle during sessions, or even when you're listening to something like a webinar or a talk like this, okay? Because there's something that happens in that unconscious connection between your true self and your hands, say, or what you're hearing or what you're smelling. So any kind of sensation is something that you want to pay attention to. To come back to, sorry, go ahead.
It's Cheryl. I missed the first 15 minutes. I was having an audio issue, so might be a little off topic. But I was relating to what Abby had to say. I feel flat right now. Like it's been going on for weeks. But what word came up when Abby was talking was flat. So it feels like there's not, I don't know, I don't have enough dimension, if that makes sense. I don't recognize this part of me. So,
let's go a little deeper there. Do you have an inkling?
To withdraw.
Okay, so that's the impulse. The impulse is to withdraw. Okay. that's not necessarily, I mean, let's say at this point you don't know if this is your true self or if this is just your ego not wanting to deal with it, right? But do you have an inkling as to, I mean, the word flat means kind of flatlined, means kind of like not really participating, right? Not really being active.
Yeah.
Do you have an inkling as to what this relates to? Does this relate to something that happened in the past that you're still processing? Or do you think this has something to do with what you want to do next? Yeah, something that relates to the future? Or does this have something to do with the present moment, which always links us more into like purpose?
It feels like the present moment because it doesn't have there's no yearning or regret or anything. Like there's nothing regret, which would feel like a past. Yearning would feel like a future. It feels the present moment.
So there's a lack of, well, Abby said lack of connection. Okay, let's just say it in that sort of generalized way, that there's a lack of connection. Connection to what?
Well, when I connect with Source, I'm right there. I'm there. So that doesn't feel like it's missing. Like it's right there.
Okay, so
it's
when
right
you
here.
go deeper, when you go deeper, you feel.
No, it doesn't have any circumstance attached to it. It just is an overall feeling of. I don't know. I really don't know what this word.
When you connect deeper, it's there? Did you mean like the flatness is there or the connection?
Oh no,
is there?
the connection is there.
Right, that's how I understood it. So when you allow yourself to go deeper, you can feel that. Then you don't feel flat. But as soon as you go, like say about your daily life, it feels
and
flat.
I can't even say for true that flat is the right word for it, because that again feels like there's something missing, and it doesn't really have a sense of missing anything. It just has I've never felt this before, and it's been going on for weeks, months, I don't know, a couple weeks.
I call this aliveness, Cheryl.
Okay, I'll work with that. What do we do with aliveness?
Aliveness is a subjective experience of your life force. And then it has to do with motivation and stuff like that. So, typically we associate flatness with motivationlessness, right? Or that we have nothing to look forward to. It's kind of like all just meh. Oh, it's just meh. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay. So the lack of motivation, and motivation comes from a place that has to do with sense of purpose. Yeah, you have to know what you're doing. That's how I often say this. Know what you're doing. You don't have to be a pro or an expert or something. This is not what that means. It's referring to be aware of what it is that you're doing and engage in things that have meaning to you. Yeah. And this is a form of disconnection. It's the disconnection between sort of what you feel in this deeper place that you just mentioned and 3D life. And it is part of some of the criticism that I have with all this new age and spirituality movement, is that there is a sort of a flatness to it, because it really just repeats sort of messages of fake positivity. Oh, everything is going to be fine. Oh, if you just got to whatever, do more yoga, or be a vegan, and what? It's not going to change things, that have to do with, for example, the what Emer mentioned. Okay, can you muster the life force to actually translate yourself into something meaningful? The bereftness or the bereaving is I couldn't directly interpret this word, because this is not a word I use. But when I went deeper into this, when Abby mentioned it. What I saw there was the lack of knowing what we're doing. We are not consciously doing what we're doing. And that's why we can't really connect with what we're doing. So the switch is, and this can be a small step, is to do one thing consciously. One thing. In the most recent Sacred Self-Healing workshop, I don't know if you were there, Cheryl, I gave exercises for specifically that. Yeah, and this has nothing to do with affirmations or telling yourself all the things that you're gonna do. No, this has to do, these exercises, they train a person to be fully present in the now with all the actions that they're doing right now. Yeah, commanding, learning how to command your life force. What we talked about with Emer was learning how to command your thinking. And what sits between your thinking and your doing is the will. Will, not as in ego will, but the willingness, the conscious willingness to do something. When we cannot feel that, yeah, the connection with our higher self is not enough, because we're here in 3D. All right, so it's always the translation, and that's then ultimately the purpose that we can find, is how can we translate? How can I translate more, let's say, lovingness into this world? How can I translate faith into this world? How can I translate hope into this world? So these three graces, faith, hope, and love, came forward in this session. And I wanted to send this to you guys here as a message also, that this is what we will need here for the future. What you experience right now, Cheryl, is something that I am experiencing right now as well, and many other clients. And it is something that you need to break through consciously, through an action step. Because we are heading into a time right now where we are going to experience things that we're not prepared for. In other words, we need to understand that it is in our conscious commanding of our will, of our thinking, and of our doing that we can change our reality. Yeah, the global situation that we're heading into will bring stuff into our lives that we didn't think we would experience. And so this declaration of who you are and learning how to break through your own self-deception, not just you, Cheryl, all of us, is the most important thing right now. We need to step into action. Not blind action. Focused action that brings aliveness to us. If you will, activism, but not political activism. Yeah, that's sort of where this hijacking of words comes in. An activism that brings your true self into this world. And why is this important? Because in the moment you do this, in the moment you declare, remember the interaction? It has an effect on the outside world. It has an effect on everything around you. And that's then what feeds this purpose back to you. You need to interact more. You need to interact with the whole sort of energetic or spiritual, physical realm in which you are. So what did you say? Withdraw is what got you there. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
And this is something that I know you can feel. I know you know this.
Yeah.
But you're not following through on it. And this is where you can investigate why you're not following through on this, because you already have enough consciousness show to witness your own thoughts, your own thinking. There are aspects in your thinking that are holding you back. Okay, and these aspects have to do with, you know, sort of, I don't know, maybe resentments or, you know, disappointment or, you know, things where you are like, oh, you know, perhaps even anger, you know, where you're like so angry at something that it didn't play out or that it isn't conducive, yeah, that you kind of throw the towel and don't even try. So aliveness, guys, comes through the conscious putting into action what you are thinking and what you are willing. It's the commanding of your thinking and your willing. It's a very mental way of saying it, but I have to remind you guys that this is not about just hanging out there in meditation or taking plant medicines or you know, doing all kinds of spiritual journeys. This is very practical, and I've been saying this for, I don't know, like 2-3 years now. Okay, we're getting into a place now here in June. Yeah, July, the first, so the last week in June and the first week of July is wonderful to make corrections, to step into this action. But you guys, out of all people out there that are empathic, that are energetically sensitive, you need to be very, very careful with what you ingest and what you think, because there is going to be so much scary stuff out there in the world, okay, that you need to know where you belong, where you have your support system, what you can do with the people that you resonate with, the tribe, you know, all these things that I've been talking about for years. Now, this isn't, you know, just some doomsday talk. This is about practical application. And if you don't know what these action steps could be, you need to seek the counsel of people who do know what these action steps must be. And then you can process this within yourself, yeah, and pick the things that apply to you. But withdrawing is not something that increases your life force. Withdrawing is what the majority of people on this planet are doing right now. And it robs them of that deep inner connection, yeah, which, you know, sometimes people call, you know, turns them into zombies. That is the choice that we all need to make. And it needs to be translated into 3D. We can't just sit there, guys. But each and every one of you is part of this world. In other words, you know, when you make that choice and you declare yourself and you say, I am a true self, I am this, okay? And you can start small with your house. I like my house tidy. I like, you know, having this, and I want this in my life. And I'm going to do everything that I can to get this done. And if I'm not doing that for whatever the reason is, then I need to pay attention to what it costs me not following through with it. That is how you can find out if whatever it is that you're thinking or what you think you need to do is true to you, or whether it's coming from that critical inner voice piece in you. You know, that says, oh no, you can't do this. Oh no, this regulation, that, and blah, blah, blah. You know, in, you know, 6 months from now, guys, we're going to be talking about other things. And the reason why this is coming in for all of you on this deeper level is because it's time to step into our aliveness. This is what we came here for. This is why you guys have been interested in all this spiritual development and so forth. This isn't just, you know, like a hobby. This is serious stuff. So whether it's, you know, the stuff that happens in our governments, that happens with our financial system, that happens with our inflation or our food supply. Yeah, these are things that are becoming very, very discomforting now in the next 2 years. So we need to know where we're standing there. You can't wait with certain things. If you don't feel safe with the people that surround you, seek other people. If you don't feel like you belong where you're at, then move. Yeah, if you don't like the job, or if it's too toxic for you, find a different job. If your relationship is not allowing you to be you, okay, then end the relationship. If you have a relationship and you feel safe there and you feel supported there, then begin to work with this. Yeah, allow this interaction, start something together, collaborate. We're all going to be collaborating within our smaller circles in the next 2-3 years. The people that are directly around us. That's why it needs to be translated, guys. This cannot just be some woo thing, if you know what I mean with woo, like, sort of you with yourself. This is not what translates it. What translates it is action with others, collaborations, things that you start building together, creativity. No, it's not beautiful to knowing that this is coming, but your guys' true selves are already informing you about this. You have been informed about this for many years. Now you need to translate. I know we don't like hearing these kind of things, but when you say them out loud, okay, there is something like a switch that happens in us. Who can relate to what I just said? This undefined feeling in you that kind of cuts you off from the future. Like you don't know what to do because you see there's a different future coming.
For sure, yes.
Say that again, Jona.
Hi there. Oops. We got two people talking. Hang on.
Sorry, I just said, will you say that again? So will you repeat that? I'm not sure
The
if I caught
feeling that there is a new future coming, something new.
Oh yeah,
different.
That's huge.
It's huge. Okay.
Huge feeling of that.
And this is why we're all sitting there waiting. We need to break through that. You can't wait. You need to turn this into like, okay, whatever. I often use an example. If I would die today, tonight, what do I have on my list here that I wanted to bring into expression in this lifetime that I need to do? And then go ahead and do this. Not that you guys are all dying. That's not what I mean to say with this. It's this like being absolutely clear with what you're doing. Don't do anything meaningless anymore. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your life force on meaningless things. Give everything that you do a meaning, a purpose. And not in the sense of like rationalizing it either. I do this because, no. Things that are true to you, that have meaning to you, that bring your life force.
Things are moving very fast, right? And it feels like steering a car, and it's kind of exciting and now and again really scary.
Yes, and that's why we need to find together. This is why, the collaboration part is so important. And what Cheryl mentioned in the beginning, the other Cheryl, like really understanding that you're not a singularity. You're not alone. Okay. But if your attitude is that way, then you're certainly going to feel that way. Okay. So this interaction piece, where we go in and do, okay, if you have no inspiration, if you are cut off from your creativity, then connect with people who are active, who have creativity, who are doing things, even if it's just like, I don't know, a nature walk on a Saturday afternoon. Or, if you have a dog, like go out to a dog park or to where other people walk their dog and interact. Go interact with things that have meaning to you. not meaningless things, things that you can connect with, that you feel like they resemble the true you. Some of you
Jona,
know
it
this.
is.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it is sort of expected, or this resistance to the change, this sort of fear around, okay, this is all
Yes.
going well, and now I'm like, I don't know how to say this politely, sort of, you know, now I'm so afraid that it's going to blow up in my face, so I
Yeah.
just go back to the comfort of.
Exactly. And it will blow up in your face. I mean, not you, you know, all of us. Okay. That's the
Yeah.
whole nature of it. Okay. So all these things that it's ego, what you're talking about. Yes, it's part of our
Yeah.
human condition. Okay. It's like the more you accumulate, the more you focus on having, getting, owning, the more you're afraid of losing it. Okay. Because ultimately it has no meaning. Okay. So you focus on the owning, getting, having. Yeah. If you connect with something that has meaning, you're not afraid of losing this. I was going to make an example here. Some of you may know this. I started a school. I founded a school. I'm running a school, an elementary school, and it's terribly exhausting. You know, there are many nights where I'm like, why did I do this? Okay, because I already worked so much. Okay, but right now I'm in this camp that I run. It's a Pokemon camp. Okay, with 5 to 10-year-olds, and I'm having a blast. And it's bringing back all this life force that I sort of couldn't connect to in the past couple of weeks. Yeah. And why is that? Not because I'm such a cool Pokemon teacher. Who cares? No, because I'm giving my own creativity and expression there. My passion for this stupid card game inspires these kids to write stories, to reenact, to make drawings, to create their own cards, I mean, there is things that are happening in these kids as I'm watching this happening and witnessing the aliveness that comes out of them. Guys, it's contagious. It's contagious. And kids, animals, plants, or simply motivated people are contagious for us. That's what we need to seek. There we can find it. Yeah, not in like, oh, Bitcoin is low. What am I going to do? My life ends because Bitcoin is below 25K. Really? No. Can you feel the contrast?
Yeah.
We make ourselves depend on so many other things that are absolutely meaningless for us. Instead of doing the things that motivate us, that bring passion, or that ignite the passion for life. So that's what aliveness is, the passion for life. Sitting on a mountaintop is not the goal of your spiritual journey, guys. We talked about this before. The goal of this deeper spiritual journey is not to disconnect from 3D. This is the wrong exit. The goal of the spiritual journey is to go into deeper connection with the world and what you find in it, and to bring yourself into actualization, to actualize yourself. Your energy is unique. There's not a single being on this planet, in this universe, that carries the same energy signature as you do. And here in 3D, in this lifetime, it is a unique opportunity to materialize it. It's an alchemical process. And on this journey here, as a spirit being, as a soul being in 3D, we have to encounter all kinds of resistances. And our job is to learn how to transmute that, how to overcome that. And when you do that, even just for 1 minute, you will feel a quickening of your life force. you will feel an aliveness again. And then it's just a matter of repeat. You do it over and over and over again. So if you don't bring your energy into this world, you will begin to feel flat. That is the bottom line. And with it, it gives us the instruction manual. When we feel flat, we're going to have to put all our energy into getting past that. Whatever it is, sometimes we have to experiment with things. Yeah, and it's, I don't want to say going the extra mile, but it is like this, really allowing yourself to go beyond your comfort zone, because you're not going to find aliveness in your comfort zone. You will only find anxiety or anxiousness in your comfort zone, or numbness. Yeah. So we grow every time we step out of our comfort zone, and that's why it's one of the most spiritual practices, to step out of your comfort zone. We have to come to an end now, guys. I would love to talk to you guys about this forever, because I cannot even emphasize how important this is right now. Yeah. I want to thank Abigail, Becky, and Cindy for co-facilitating the session for you, and all of you who shared here tonight. Hearing your voices, bringing this into expression, yeah, is what brings life force into each and every one's life here. Yes. And thank you for your beautiful comments also. Thank you. All right, and come back next month. There is a second free session this month, before I forget this, on the solstice, at the peak of the solstice. A very discomforting time here in Florida on the 21st of June at 6 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, so for those of you in Europe, well, it's midnight for us, or 1 a.m. for us here in Florida. It's at 6 a.m. in the morning. This will be a turning point. This will be a massive shift that occurs at this time, and that's why I decided to make this free session. So please all feel invited. Yeah, there is a sign-up link for the Higher Self session on the 21st of June at 6 a.m. So I will only send instructions to those who specifically choose to sign up for it. All right, and obviously, if you want to have all this in person and see me like being all full of life force, then come to Iceland in 10 days. I will do all the sessions from there for a reason. Okay, I love you guys, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Go do now. Go do what you know is true to you.